Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis, ready to rock.
today we have Wolverine Revenge. Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo. They're pulling out a five-part mini. This series is Wolverine. Obviously, Revenge is going to have a lot of violence, and this story it definitely hits up that Wolverine. Of course, you can see that he's in the Savage Land, and he gets called out by Nick Fury. And from Nick Fury, they bring him in and say, "Hey, something has happened. We lost Asteroid M, and Asteroid M has destroyed a good portion of the continent. Somehow it's way bigger than it's supposed to be. I think they say Canada's gone or something like that. And they enlist Wolverine, but there's only a few heroes left. There's Captain America, there's some Shield agents, and there's Winter Soldier. So they're gonna go trying to go against Mastermind, who has somehow been beefed up into being this bigger thing. And it's an out of continuity story. It's just kind of set up so they can do whatever they want. I guess similar to what recently was like the Batman Joker thing that Silvestri did. They're just letting Hickman do whatever he wants in this sort of story, and they go beyond that. I think for some reason, Rich Johnston was trying to compare this to Burns' fan fiction, saying this is fan fiction. This has nothing to do with the storyline. When it's just an out of continuity story. But ultimately, they go out, they try to hunt. A lot of destruction happens to the Shield people. A lot of people get killed, and it's down to three people: Wolverine, Cap, and we don't know if obviously we're not sure about Nick Fury. He always can maybe make it out. Cap and Winter Soldier, and something terrible happens, and hence revenge. So before I ask Cal your thoughts, I want to ask you something else because when I got to this page here, we're not looking through the whole book. When they had this short blurb here, it reminded me of something. I want to see if this reminded you of something. Did it remind you of anything?
What the intro blurb right here?
Yes.
I can't. No, offhand, I can't say that it did.
For me, it read like the super folks to say, hey, Asteroid M blew up on re-entry, Magneto breathed his last breath, the EMP, like all this really short, quick hits to set you up into the story they're doing. Because like in the super folks, like the initial Superman, Batman, all this other stuff happens so quickly, and it's just like, here's the setup very quickly, and you get into your revenge story. So let's hear your thoughts on it so far. What are you thinking about this one?
Oh, one of the reasons it didn't like connect in terms of super folks is just about everything they write when it's like this reminds me of super folks. So it's all super. It's all super folks at the end of the day. No, I didn't know this was an out of continuity story. So I
Hmm.
started reading it, and like a few pages in, I was like, "What?" I was like, "This can't be." I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, okay. So this isn't a continuity. So I don't really got to take this seriously. And since I don't have to take this seriously, I'm not. So I'm going through it. I'm like, art is, I said, the art is serviceable,
Yeah.
but then the normal things come up. I'm like, okay, this is going to be revenge. And I'm like, really? And, revenge for what? And, oh, because these people died. And I'm like, but why should I care about the whole setup at the end of the day? Since this is really has nothing to. This isn't real. It's not the real character. It's not the real characters. And then it starts to remind me of stuff like Garth Ennis would do, where
Hmm.
he wants to have fighting Thor fighting Viking zombies,
Yeah.
which doesn't make any sense. There's
Hmm.
no reason why a zombie should ever be a problem for Thor in any universe. But Garth Ennis has decided, hey, wouldn't it be cool? And then Thor's gonna get bitten by a zombie. It starts reminding me of stuff like that, and just kind of takes me out of the story. So, I'm probably going to be one issue in and one issue out. There's really not a lot. It's just not a lot for me there.
Wow.
The art was okay. The art was okay. I don't. I just see no reason why Colossus should ever have a beard, even if he has one when he's unarmored. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm okay with the hair on his head. The other stuff doesn't make because he doesn't have like it. If he's got hair anywhere else when he transforms, it's not there. So I was like, I don't see why this facial hair big thing is coming over. And then I start paying attention to all the things that don't make sense because the story just isn't there. And then of course we only got what there's only like what a handful of heroes, four. So it's Wolverine, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Nick Fury. We don't know if Nick Fury's out of it. Might be an LMD or what have you. But the villains are all still there for some reason. You know, Sabretooth. Somehow Sabretooth is still around to play with, and Omega Red. I'm like, okay, this is just a. I don't want to call it fan fiction, but this is like, hey, I got let me play around with these characters, and I'll put it in this this new universe right here, where it's not going to matter, so I can just do what I want. Otherwise, it just didn't register with me.
Well, well, that's the hard part in comparing it to at least Burns fan fiction because Wolverine is in the idea of someone who kind of pumped him up to being what we kind of thought Wolverine is, and Byrne, he kind of stepped on Wolverine a lot during those things, showing that he's kind of a SOB and he kind of leads head first, and he usually gets his hat handed to him because he's jumping in too quick. But that's a hair trigger, berserker. Like the word berserk, they only like the idea of berserk of saying when he fights, he goes berserk. Not berserk when he just like, hey, I'm just jumping in there and cycle. No, chill. And that's ultimately what could have been the fun of having Captain America in there, having to run around. But they, of course, throw that out. Like Cap and Winter Soldier, they get taken out pretty quickly. And Wolverine, they just have to talk him off the ledge. Say, hey, you already got your other guys. We actually don't want to show Wolverine getting beat up, so let's just have him captured. And then when he wakes up, he's the one who's the sage counsel. Oh, you guys, you're kind of this, that, and the other. It's just like you're playing to all of the. Since you're in fan fiction, you don't have to do the Wolverine who's kind of the know-it-all, the Reed Richards as far as fighting and revenge type of deal. Like he's always prepared, always got skills. He's been around fighting for so many years. He has so many fighting styles and all this stuff. When, as much as I complain about the X-Men movies, in every movie, Wolverine is just a berserker. When they did the Wolverine, he doesn't have any martial arts skills. He's just out there hacking and slashing the entire time. So as much as I complain Wolverine's too tall, X-Men or this, that, and the other, the quintessential scene is when he's having these bad dreams and who's the name? Rogue comes over him, shrunk right into her. 2 seconds in, the berserker, that's a berserker. So that's what's kind of lost. But at the same time, who am I to tell Jonathan Hickman what he's supposed to write? He wants to write the Wolverine who's, fought forever, the best at what he does, and that implies that he's better than everybody else. So ultimately, I use one of your things that you would say, maybe I don't need Cap or Winter Soldier in this story, and just start from the revenge, that he's out tracking these guys. And ultimately, it's hard for him to fight, someone like Omega Red, because Omega Red is like a mutant parasite. He's going to absorb your powers away from you. So I mean, ultimately, if he has a drop on you, well, no, they have it set up where, for some reason, they don't know the outcome of Wolverine. So, they're going to be surprised when he comes back. So, but the hard part is, what is it? There's a total of, let's see, what is it? The three. There's like a total of 5 villains. Regretfully, I don't know why Colossus gets thrown in as the bad guy. Like, I don't know why they would throw him as a bad guy in this. And at the same time, some of the stuff that they try to do with Colossus to be edgy just doesn't work. He is the quintessential, the most simple character you can have. Like,
Colossus is a good guy.
Yeah.
Colossus is a good guy. They do in Deadpool. They want him to be they want him to be a textbook, a corny textbook in Deadpool, so he can be so he can work with all the puns against Deadpool, the straight man, but without the straight man privileges. And then over here, they want to try to make him bad, but he's just not that type of. He's just not that type of character.
Mm-hmm.
Never has been.
But that's the other thing. When they did set it up in the early part of the X-Men series, where he has this doubt of his abilities early on, and because he's also young, we don't really look that he was, you know, he's from in between 19 and 17, but he was more on the line of 17. So when they did do a story where he was brainwashed, they were able to talk him out of it. But this thing where he joins with Magneto and like is an ex-trader, and when or even I mean I'm ultimately I gotta be honest, I'm only really bringing this up when because Mark Miller, he didn't turn him into a bad guy, but he turned him gay, and I was just like, that doesn't work for me either. I can't, I can't see it. But it's like these changes to a character that's very straight laced and not having a villain kind of force it into the story just seems kind of a stretch. When he's just like your basic character that'd be great in the Western, like he just comes in there and he just handles business. Like that's kind of him. You can play around with how Claremont and Byrne did for a little while, but you can't really turn him into a bad guy. But they're already doing that, so you're gonna have this big, Jonathan Hickman wants Colossus to be hacked up. But the other thing you have to remember that when Colossus went, Colossus was controlled by Arcade. Colossus is faster than Wolverine. So Wolverine had no at that point had no reason not to cut him. He don't care. He not thinking this is my friend. When he's like, hey, I've always wondered if my claws would work against you. He said immediately like bow right to the face of Wolverine. And the next thing you know, when Wolverine tried to stop him again, he's like, what's it? Wolverine says, out of your flaming gourd, Rusky. And they said, once again you attack, once again you get taken out. So you have to remember that he's actually faster than Wolverine. So Wolverine if he sneaks up on him, he can cut him up into slices. But if straight on, Colossus is faster than Wolverine. I'm sorry, world. That's what it is. And they already established that. Under Claremont's byline, Byrne said the arcade stuff was mostly Claremont, so it's under his byline. So what can we say?
No, even by Marvel, if you went by Marvel Universe Handbook, Colossus in his human form is actually like superior to an Olympic level athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Just the stuff that he was able to do and just like without armored up, and then of course being superior to those particular stats once he's armored up. But all that stuff about Colossus being faster than Wolverine, there's no way anybody would remember that or need to think that today because Wolverine is cooler than Colossus. So that's always going to make him faster, i.e. better than this character. But this is one of the problems you have with the character like Colossus, who, for all intents and purposes, he's one of the few Marvel characters who's like really just a pure-hearted character.
Yeah.
It's nothing really. There's no edge to him. There's no dark side, no shade or anything. The biggest thing he ever did that people had an issue with was that he, cheated on Kitty, if you will, and that was pretty much that's like the biggest thing I can remember anybody holding a grudge against him for. So then the idea becomes what he's boring. So in order for him not to be boring, we got to darken this dude a bit. But you need something there. You need something there that we could like, I could, see this dude doing something wrong. With Reed Richards, you might say, you could do the whole mad scientist thing. Ben Grimm, he's already in a monster form. What if he actually acted like one? Johnny becomes a pyromaniac, that type of stuff. Any of those particular things. But with Colossus, there was never that edge there. It's just a good guy. So when they do these type of things, it doesn't, at least for me, it doesn't resonate because it's so out of character for him. There's really the stuff that you're trying to purport is not anything that he's ever shown to have existing within himself as a character.
Well, the last bit would be, I think when him and Ileana went bad in the Avengers versus X-Men, even in looking at the basis of that story came from the X-Men Titans and who's that? When the Phoenix took over Cyclops and X-Men Titan, she was like, yeah, I should have never let Darkseid take me over. I'm gonna take Darkseid and send him to the source wall, doing something positive. And even though she was tempted by coming back by Darkseid, which was tainted by all of the X-Men turning into bad guys, Colossus and well, Colossus, Cyclops, all of them except for Xavier, getting a bit of infinity power. Only problem is Colossus ran into Spider-Man. Him and Ileana ran into Spider-Man, and as they were stepping on him, literally stepping on Spider-Man's face, he had the bright idea to tell them, the two of them, brother and sister, to fight each other. And of course, they were dumb enough to do that. And then Spider-Man's dragged two of them over. So that's one of the things where you just find new wacky stories to do some bad stories with the character. So, one of the cool things was moments where Kitty would see a different version, like the ex-baby version of Cyclops, and he would be like a stand-up guy, but anyway, obviously it seems that's what our ending is going to be, a big fight between Wolverine and Colossus, because obviously, it wasn't enough getting all of his major villains in there. Why not bring in Colossus? Why not have Cyclops show up at the end too, so he can cut him up? It's revenge. Revenge against your friends. It wouldn't be Marvel without that. Any last words?
No, disappointing issue.
All right. I didn't say anything about the art. I did like the art. Otherwise, but it's sad when I see decent art with bad story. That's usually the part where I kind of have to eject. The sad part of some of my favorites having John Romita do stories under Brian Michael Bendis. I had to eject. I couldn't do it. You can't get me to keep reading this, and this book might be in the terms of that. As I can't. They say was it good? Was it
Yeah.
Good art can't save bad writing or bad story. If I don't like the story, it can't keep me on there. There's only a couple that I kind of stuck with that I was iffy on the art. But if it goes too far left, I really can't do it. It's really tough. It's really tough for me. So
When I think good art, bad story, I think For Tomorrow by Brian Azzarello and Jim Lee. When I think good art, worst story, I think of the average Marvel comic book right now. That's pretty much where they're at. These guys they haven't been able to turn out anything. It's so out there, the stuff that they're producing. And it's almost nothing is coming from the writers. Everything is like an editorial directive. It's whack.
Yeah.
And the writer and a lot of these these aren't the editors of old, guys who used to be guys who used to write the book and then they worked their way up and became an editor, or somebody, or the simplest thing is they don't know comic books. These are not people who are getting these positions with the background knowledge of comics. And so the stuff that they're coming up with are like, they're trying to drive numbers, but it shows that they don't really understand these characters, the stuff that they're producing.
Well, it's no way related, only in Marvel's comic sense. The book that I still am checking out from Marvel is the Fantastic Four. The art is okay. The story is definitely not great, but they're in a weird place where they decided that Alicia is a member and
Of what?
of the
Of
team.
the Marvel Universe? What team? The Marvel Universe?
Of the Fantastic Four.
Get out of here.
But the thing is,
I'm tired of this de facto girlfriend nonsense that somehow she's in there because she's attached. You're not a member of the Fantastic Four. You don't have powers. You're not a member of the core team. You're not a member of the Fantastic Four. You're Ben Grimm's girlfriend. That's it.
Lord. Okay, it's his wife with the mother of his adopted children. But this arc is like, they did a imaginary arc which it was like a detective story which had a lot of Alicia in it, and then the last three have been the vampire, the Blood Hunt, right? It's like Blood Hunt crossover. So it's Reed and Alicia stuck together for a number of issues, but I don't know if the artist is leaning this way. Reed is doing everything to keep these people in the stadium saved, and Alicia, and she's his sage counsel while they're doing this. But it's almost like an Alicia Reed romance. It's like, I don't know what they're trying to do. There's so many touching moments between Reed and Alicia here, and I know they're trying to make Reed more endearing. It's like, but all you're doing is building a love triangle again, where it's just like, and these two characters, even though they probably would have, they can have moments, but it's just like you guys are going too far in your this Alicia being a member. She can, I mean, she's got definitely had stories and a big part of the story when Kirby was doing it, when Byrne was doing it. But at the same time, as a member, no, it was cool having her do stuff and having her with the Enclave and the Adam Warlock, that type of stuff, where she actually had a story, and I think she had a story in the Thing series. But she's still a supporting character. Like, you don't kill yourself in doing this, and I think, but the art is still serviceable. I still keeping this more of my attention than Wolverine Revenge, but the Wolverine Revenge one is going to be the big money one, and we'll see. It's going to be the big money one, but I do concur about the Marvel books. But I will be. Only thing I was checking out before this was a thing. So, but I do
It's just
concur about that.
look, it's no fun. It really isn't. It's like I remember a point where I could take some time off from the books that I wasn't reading. If I wasn't like, okay, I'm not a regular, uh, uh, like I don't read like Spider Woman. I don't read Spider Woman regularly. Okay, for whatever reason, Spider Man's on the cover. I'm like, all right, let me pick this up, see what's going on. And at the very least, I may not read the next issue of Spider Woman, but this was entertaining. Characters are there. It was like a nice little diversion. I got an extra book to read this month. Now, because the writing is all over the place and there's no story. There is absolutely no story. They've made the problem in any or all of these universes the heroes. The heroes are the problem. So because that's the situation, I go to pick this up. I have no idea what the heck is going on. I don't know who's supposed to be. It's like literally you pick up a. What was I reading? I was reading something. I can't remember some change they made recently. Oh no, this was like with Batman. You pick up Batman. There's no Batcave. Wayne Enterprises is gone. He doesn't have his money. I'm like, what are you people doing? Like,
Hmm.
what are you people doing? This is not who this character is. Oh, we want to show that he's still Batman even without his money. No, his superpower is having that money. He needs. I was like, then all the other stuff, the gadgets go out of the window, and eventually you're gonna have to restore this stuff anyway. This is not a good story idea. And then I think this was already revisited. I mean, pretty much when you had Nightfall,
Hmm.
that was pretty much everything that you needed because that was a breakdown of all the stuff that should have happened. The secret identity didn't matter. Wayne Manor didn't matter. It didn't matter these separations of anything because Bane was just able to bypass everything and get right to him. So you can already see, look, these trappings over here, if we want, we can get through them. And Ray Ghul used to get past it all the time. So I never felt that it was that big of a deal. But, now, okay, we're going to do Born Again with Batman. Doesn't work. He's not the same character as Daredevil. Just doesn't work at the end of the day. And then I'll come over, I won't even think about picking up the Avengers to read it. I might pick up Fantastic Four, but even then, it's kind of like, you got to say a prayer first and cross your fingers that people are there and you don't like pick it up and like, well, why does the thing look like this? What the heck happened to Johnny? What's going on?
Yeah.
And we've been longtime readers. So it's not like I haven't picked up a book before and seen that, okay, the thing looks a little bit more rocky. And then you realize, he got exposed to some more cosmic radiation. He's mutated further. Okay, let's see how this type of stuff plays out. As opposed to like, hey, what's going on? Why is Ben acting like an evil genius, just totally out of character at this point? And
Hmm.
that was the more important thing. If the thing looked different, that was one thing. But he was still acting like Ben Grimm. Okay, let me read this and see how far this rocks. But now, no. And then this, because you have so much of the Marvel universe that's already acting like it's an alternative universe, what do I need to invest in this for? I
Yeah.
could just read one of your regular books. None of them seem like they're in continuity.
Yeah, and ultimately to do the story that he wanted to do, I don't think all those characters are still in play. So I'm not sure why Asteroid M had to destroy, half of the planet and only people left is Captain America and
How in the world would it doesn't make any sense that Asteroid M would do that in the first place? Not the Marvel universe. And maybe if you're just doing the X-Men TV show, I could see where that would happen. But the Marvel universe proper has enough heroes where that asteroid would have never made it to Earth.
well, I mean, they already did that in X-Men versus Avengers. It comes down, doesn't, it's in half water, half land, or something like that, submerged underwater when it hits the planet and whatnot. And what Magneto comes and picks the pieces, but it doesn't destroy, you know, all of Canada. It's not that kind of satellite. It's not,
It's
it's
an
not a moon.
asteroid.
It's not a
It's
moon.
an it's an asteroid. That the mound of vibranium in Wakanda was from an asteroid.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
didn't destroy half the planet. It's an asteroid.
yeah. And
Uh,
I've been in a couple arguments. Anyone, saying, "Hey, it wasn't this side. It was actually it's." We're being figuratively, he's saying basically the planet is in bad shape after this. So if anyone comes in, well, it's actually I've had to deal with a lot of that. It's not. That's someone got kicked in the head. He didn't actually kick him in the head. I'm just trying to say that he just stomped on. He didn't actually stomp on him. But anyway,
yes,
um,
he did kick him in the head, and this sucks.
so yeah, it's with the talent and with all. I mean, I haven't really been too keen on Jonathan Hickman. I definitely have been a fan of Greg Capullo, but this is not going in the best way for the talent involved. So I'm not sure we'll be back for the next issue. Depends on how bad it is. We like the Cosby Show. How ugly is he? Like, oh hey guy. So, all right, spin a rack
Out.
out.